like to take this time to update the general public on issues pertaining to the ministry. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate the Milton Peters College 3-on-3 basketball teams which traveled last Sunday to the Netherlands to compete in the Olympic Moves competition in Amsterdam. The event is due to take place in the Olympic Stadium in Amsterdam on June 9th, and during the tournament, the team is expected to compete in the streetball, the 3-on-3 category. The students also were able to visit several schools where they competed in some practice games as well already during this week. So we wish them much success in representing St. Martin, as several of the other islands are also represented in these competitions from the Dutch Caribbean, as well as throughout the Netherlands. I was also pleased to have a visit from Mr. Shamar, better known as Dion Butte, an aspiring professional basketball player from St. Martin. He has spent the past 2 years at the Tallahassee Community College under the study financing, or as a result of the study financing he was able to secure as a great student. He has graduated with his associates from Tallahassee and has been accepted, I believe, as the first, and I can stand to be corrected, student of St. Martin to a Division I school under us. So he's going to be starting in the fall at Connecticut Central State University, CCSU, 2017. So we wish him much success as he embarks on playing at this level, and hopefully we can follow a game or two on the television and hope that he reaches his highest achievements. Government will of course continue to support him at this university as well, and are looking into ways to possibly support his vying for professional development. Team Don't Quit, also a recipient of assistance from the ministry through the Department of Sports, hosted its competition of Fittest on the Rock over the weekend as well, where the reigning champions were once again crowned Fittest on the Rock, namely Dimar Labega and Charlene Mezas. We were very happy as a ministry to promote fitness by having some of our own employees, namely the department head and 2 of the policy workers, take part in this event. They've been training and were able to secure first and second place wins in several areas. So congratulations to them. As a ministry, we would like to continue to collaborate with Team Don't Quit in bringing such a competition, probably on a smaller scale, to our high schools sometimes later this year, so we can look forward to that. And in the same vein, we had some students from the NIA who went to France to compete in dance competitions, and they were also able to come back with 2 gold medals. So all in all, we must say sports arts on St. Martin is thriving as well here as well as abroad. And as much as we feel we can do more with the little we are doing, we're still able to send them out there to represent at pretty good levels. From the Department of Support Services for Students, SSSD, a reminder of the interactive and informative workshop, which will be hosted this Wednesday, today, from 7 to 9 p.m. under the title, Acting in Your Best Interest, How to Manage Your Money and Live at Your Highest Financial Potential. This, of course, is an open invitation to the general public, but especially parents of primary and secondary school students are invited to attend. They are the target group mainly. It's at the University of St. Martin. Today, Wednesday, June 7th. Under education matters, I was invited along with the Minister of TIAT, Minister Arundel Doncher, to pay a working visit to the AUC, American University of the Caribbean. They have recently made some changes, and we were able to tour the facilities as well as get information from management, staff, students, as to collaborations with the different ministries and the general public. We were also able to meet with a recent St. Martiner who has started her medical studies, Ms. Darlene Gomes, quite by accident in the walkways, and she was very happy to see us, as we have that agreement with AUC to grant our locals scholarships, and she has been a recipient this year. 2 of our students also, not necessarily recipients, but 2 St. Martiners graduated, Ms. Nia Dahelani and Gary Tackling, in the ceremonies held a few weeks ago. The moot court competition was also held. It's been quite a busy weekend. on Friday last, in which the Milton Peters College, the St. Martin Academy, the St. Dominic School, and the CIA showed a very high level of preparation, confidence, and intelligence. The winning speaker was Ms. Brianni Penine of Milton Peters College, and the St. Dominic School won the competition. As you may recall, 2 years ago, we did send representatives to the Netherlands where they placed third, and so the winning team, along with some others, will be going to the Netherlands next year, 2018 in January, to represent St. Martin, and we wish them much success in the preparation of this competition. I'm confident that they will continue to place at a very high level. A news that has been surfing, or I should say allegations, I wouldn't want to call it news, in one of the daily papers as well as online. Some controversy is being experienced at the National Institute of Professional Advancement. Allegations are being levied. The board has already sent their statements to the daily newspapers, and we did see that it was included in the report. However, several questions were asked of my person, and as Minister of Education, and maintaining the quality of education falls within my responsibility, and as such, the inspectorate will be doing what they have to do to make sure and report back. The last reports I've had were that things were improving, and so I expect to be updated on that. Further, the board has been taking, based on reports that I've received from them, their decisions as a board, and so therefore, all of the stakeholders who have appointed members to the board will have to sit and discuss the way forward in terms of whether an intervention is needed or not. I will be awaiting the inspectorate report. The board as well reports on a regular basis to the Department of Education and takes part in monthly meetings. So there has been no red flag shown before this, and so therefore, based on the information also, a labor dispute is not one in which the ministers can become involved. The labor agreement is between the board and the employee in question, and therefore I will not be taking any questions pertaining to any labor issues at this point or today until we as the stakeholders have done what we have to do. In culture news, we have Flag Day coming up, which will be on June 13th, and I remind the general public to show their national pride in flying their flags high. We have always put out a flag protocol, and I will see to it that that is also put out there so we know the right ways to do that. Happy Flag Day in advance. I must say I won't be here on island to celebrate with you. Emancipation Day is also upcoming, and in collaboration with Voices, government will be hosting this year's Emancipation Day celebration. Further information will be sent out to the general public as well as all others who we encourage to celebrate along with us. So Emancipation Day will be celebrated on Saturday, July 1st this year, and further updates will be made in this respect. In news from UNESCO, the Intangible Cultural Heritage Workshop will be hosted, ICH Workshop, by the Department of Culture together with the St. Martin National Commission, NatCom, for UNESCO. This is the second round of consultations, which will start on June 12th to June 14th. That's Monday to Wednesday next week, from 9 to 4 at the New Government Building Conference Room here at the Swaliga Boulevard. The workshop will be facilitated by Global UNESCO Facilitator, Mr. David. I'm missing his last name, and you can contact Mrs. Marcelia Henry or Shireen Alambi Duncan at the Department of Culture for further information on how to take part in these workshops. From the Division of Exams, I have also been received a presentation on the results. 574 pupils had the FBE exit exams in for 2016-17. The Catholic School Board, SCOS, and Division Public Education had the largest number of students, 161 and 160 respectively. The foundation for Methodist Agagi Center had 101 and Christian Hillside 77. Seventh-day Adventist 42 and ACE 31. 2 students were homeschooled. The performance levels for math and the overall percentage score remained about the same as last year's. There's a slight improvement, though not sufficient, for Dutch, and a slight decline can be noted for general knowledge and English. So several actions will be discussed with the school boards moving forward in terms of rectifying what seems to be a trend. The highest scoring school was the St. Dominic. The Foundation for MAC and Catholic schools have also the highest overall percentage per school board, if we look at the boards. And as we know, last week, Monday, we had some serious weather here on St. Martin, quite a bit before the start of the hurricane season, but now we are in the hurricane season. And though I know our Prime Minister has put out an official address, I would like to remind especially our schools, parents, to be very vigilant where the weather is concerned. The hurricane season has started. We are been experiencing extreme weather, and I also received an unofficial message, which I have to verify, about a possible heat wave in the next couple of days. So we really need to pay attention to the weather reports. The Met Office posts online at a regular basis, and you can also receive this directly to your phones. We'd also like to take this time to congratulate the Lions Club on 100 years of Lionism and 100 years of working together with the community. As you know, many depend on government for everything, but some organizations are doing quite a lot, and we thank and congratulate the Lions Club.
I'm going to start, I've been asked by the Ministry of TIAT to just make a brief statement about the Taste of the Caribbean. For those of you that are not familiar, actually this past week, CHTA had an event in Miami, which is their CHIEF, or Caribbean Hospitality Industry Exchange Forum. And this is where the industry really come together with suppliers and stakeholders, more from an operational perspective, to exchange ideas about how to operate more efficiently. And one of the things that was done this year, which is very nice, is they've merged that event with Taste of the Caribbean. For several years, Taste of the Caribbean's been operating independently, and so it's nice because when you bring the two events together, there's a lot more people, a lot of great excitement. I watched some of it on Facebook as people were posting live the awards ceremonies from last night. So I'd like to commend the national team, the members of the team, Renata DeWeaver from Sonesta Great Bay and NEPA, Chef Dino Giactiani from Temptations, Chef Peter Holstein from Rum and Peas and Canoa, Chef Ronald Estefan from Sonesta Maho, Justin Assendelft from Holland House, and a rising star, Miss Susie Adopsy, a student at NEPA. And Paul Peterson, no stranger for the bartender competitions from Temptations and from NEPA as well. And how did our team do? In terms of the awards, Best Non-Alcoholic Drink went to Paul Peterson from St. Martin. He's done a tremendous job. He's again, a lot of experience in the bartender competition. For the beef competition, a gold medal for Susie Adopsy. Junior chef competition, a silver medal for Susie Adopsy. For the pastry competition, a bronze medal for Ronald Estefan. For the bartender competition, gold medal for Paul Peterson. And for Caribbean chef competition, Dino Giactiani walked away with a silver medal. And overall, the team from St. Martin took a silver medal home for their performance. Again, congratulations to the team. For those of you who don't know, it is a lot of work. They spend a lot of time throughout the year preparing. They have a lot of practice dinners that are also fundraising dinners. So really this is just the culmination of quite a sustained effort, and the team actually comes home at 3:15 this afternoon. So again, congratulations to them. I'd like to speak a little bit about, I just returned this weekend from a conference, the health conference in Aruba, and it was a conference about integrated healthcare. And I'm going to just read the definition for you. This is from Harvard Magazine website. Integrated healthcare defined as a network of organization that provides or arranges to provide a coordinated continuum of service to a defined population and is willing to be held clinically and fiscally accountable for the outcome and health status of the population served. Really, what is it talking about? It's talking about that if we want to make sure that we're delivering a high quality of care to our people, we need to make sure that the system works well together. In other words, everybody has a role. Financiers or SZV, family doctors, specialists, hospitals, everybody has a role to play in terms of making sure we deliver the best quality care for an affordable price to our people. And so the conference was really attended by policymakers, by surgeons, by health professionals, consultants, and it was really a discussion about how do we improve overall the quality of care. And in this conference, because it's always good to walk away with specific and actionable steps, there were two agreements that were signed. One was an agreement for cooperation signed between the inspectors of St. Martin and Aruba. And just to give you an idea, the idea of their agreement is to establish a closer close cooperation amongst the parties and to facilitate mutual support through, amongst other things, the exchange of manpower, knowledge, experience, and information related to the supervisory tasks of the inspectorate in areas for parties of mutual interest. And some of the things they're focusing on in particular are cooperation in the development of inspection tools and inspection standards, cooperation in the field of drug registration, cooperation in order to facilitate exchange of expertise or joint training, as well as cooperation in the context of expected expansions of inspectorate tasks such as food safety, drinking water, and the environment. So this is one agreement that was signed, and I need to congratulate our inspectorate, Dr. Earl Best. He did actually all of the legwork for this himself. And actually, I wouldn't really be mentioning, but the article today seemed to confuse, and I understand that because there's two cooperation agreements, or what I've signed is a letter of intent. So just to sort of clarify, one agreement was signed between the inspector of St. Martin and from Aruba, and the other agreement is an agreement that was signed between the ministers from Aruba, Curacao, and myself from St. Martin. And as we look at how do we integrate care and how do we make sure that we deliver the best quality of care for our people, there's a lot of things that we're doing in the individual countries that are repetitive, that we're overlapping. So we're spending money, for example, developing, the hospitals all operate with protocols. Protocols are detailed manual for practices in all types of cases, what's the correct way to operate. So for example, how do you sterilize tools or equipment? All of that has to be written down very specifically, well detailed in terms of the procedures. So these are things that every hospital has to have, and instead of all of our hospitals individually spending money to develop these things, it makes sense to coordinate so that we can economize with our money and get more bang for our dollar. So just one example of how we can improve the cooperation between the various countries. Well, we signed a letter of intent, which still has to be ratified by the Council of Ministers, but there's nothing in here that has any real financial consequences, and this is really based on previous agreements, so I don't anticipate any problems in terms of executing this cooperation. But to give you an idea, some of the points in the agreement that we're focused on is preventive care, right? How do we make sure that we're focused on non-communicable diseases in particular? So we're talking about cardiovascular disease, obesity, diabetes, and cancer. So anything we can share in terms of best practices or protocols, in terms of how we're educating our population and how we're executing preventative care protocols to make sure that our population's healthy. Structured cooperation between the hospitals. All the hospitals, very interestingly, are all working towards a JCI accreditation. So that gives us, again, good synergies. We all seem to be pointed in the same direction, working on developing benchmarks so that we can understand, for example, how the individual hospitals are performing. So some examples might be infection rates, right? How often are there infections reported within the hospital? And by calculating the information and benchmarking it against each other, it gives us a good comparison to see how is the hospital actually performing. Also, structured cooperation between our public health insurance companies. Each of our islands has a health insurance company, for example, the SVB, SZV, or AZV. And again, we're working together to see, can we purchase software together? Instead of, again, all of us purchasing different software that don't speak to each other, wouldn't it make sense to try and bulk our purchases together, as well as sharing best practices and worst practices? Gathering data. I'd like to see that a dashboard is developed, again, for hospitals and for the health insurance companies that give us an idea how they're individually performing and that we can compare against each other. Legislative cooperation. We all have the same concerns. The BIC registration, the development of a sin tax. This is a discussion that's being held together with the Ministry of Finance here. We're looking at the possibility of a tax based on alcohol, tobacco, as well as sugar drinks, as are all of the other islands. Pharmaceutical drug costs. This is a big driver of cost in our communities. Aruba and Curacao have taken different strategies to address the pharmaceutical drug costs. St. Martin is in the process of doing that. So again, there's a lot that we can learn from our neighbors in terms of what they've done, what's been effective, and hopefully St. Martin can benefit from their experiences and get it even better than they have done it. Waste and efficiency, how do we address that within our healthcare organizations? In particular, working towards joint purchasing, in other words, pooling our purchasing power. There were discussions about, can't we refer our patients that we send abroad to the same hospitals? So if we send them to the same set of hospitals, it gives us much more leverage in terms of negotiating. And for me, not even so much about the price, but more about the services that they offer to make sure that we're really getting a streamlined operation. Terms of reference for a healthcare performance audit. Aruba in particular is very interested in having their entire healthcare system audited by a professional entity. Again, if that entity is hired, we're looking at the possibility, can they compare all three islands to see, again, benchmarking against each other. As well as reaching out to PAHO for an analysis about environmental risk factors. This relates mostly to the dump, for example, and in Aruba and Curacao, obviously, the refineries. So there's concerns about how do we, as ministries of health, lay out the parameters in terms of emissions, in terms of, from a health perspective, how these entities should be managed. And so, again, that's something that we're working on collaboratively.
I attended a couple of events the past week that left a great impression on me. One of them, my colleague, Minister Jacobs, touch, which was the moat court. And as I was sitting listening to my colleagues, and they were talking about the different activities in which youngsters, especially from St. Martin, participated, and the prizes that they took, you know, I was thinking, you know, as Justice Minister, you really never get a chance to do that. Wrong. The moat court. Those who never experience it, I would advise the next time, head to the courthouse, sit there, and listen to it. We have a group of youngsters from different schools on the island who take part in a court session. And the court session is based on international law, very, very difficult law. And a case is presented, and it's a case based on the penal code, or international law rather, and presided by real judges. There were 5 judges sitting there, real judges, and the different participants, you had a defense and you had a prosecution. And it was amazing to see how those youngsters perform. My colleague already mentioned the winner in the individual best speaker, and the overall winners was a team from the St. Dominic School. A big congratulations to them, but also a big congratulations to those who invested in them. And those are the lawyers who coach them. Normally, I'm going to get myself in trouble now. Normally, lawyers don't do nothing for nothing. Ask me about it. But I have to now give the lawyers a big up, as we say, because they invested a lot of time coaching these youngsters. They did a fantastic job in doing so, and a big congratulations to all. The other event that I attended was just last night, and I'm still have it fresh in my mind. But I'll start by congratulating the organizers. Mr. Richardson of our own DCOM department, Department of Communication, who are the organizers of the series of lectures that take place at the university. And last night event was themed "The Law Matters to You." And the keynote speaker last night was attorney Selena Barry. And there are no words to express her performance. She did a fantastic job. She managed to present a difficult topic based on the penal code to non-jurists, to the average citizen, and not only that they understood what she was talking about, but they were very well entertained by her unique style of how she presented that. I think these type of events, along with the other events that my colleagues, Minister Lee and Minister Jacobs mentioned, is worth all of our investment, even though it is time to be present to show our support to those participating in it.